Today I'm going to show you how you can make this super cute lucky bee keychain with a 4-leaf clover as its wings. This pattern and video is for all levels of crocheters, including beginners. If you would like to see the written pattern, you can head over to my Instagram, Holly Bee Crochet, and see this as a free pattern as well. Now let's get into the pattern. For this bee, I used weight 4 medium worsted yarn, a darning needle, 3.25mm crochet hook, fiber fill, stitch markers, but if you don't have stitch markers, you could also use bobby pins, 6mm safety eyes, a keychain, which is optional, scissors, and a lighter, which is also optional. You will need to know single crochet, magic ring, increase, invisible decrease, chain, slip stitch, and double crochet in order to do this pattern, but I will go over each stitch as I do them in this video as well. Let's start with the light green color for the face. Put the loose yarn tail into the non-dominant palm of your hand and hold it down with your pinky and ring finger. Wrap the working yarn around your middle and index finger and create an X under those fingers. Wrap it around to create parallel lines on top and hold them tightly with your thumb and ring finger while you grab your crochet hook with your dominant hand. Go under that right strand, over the left, pull and twist. I like to pinch this part with my dominant hand and wrap the yarn tightly with my non-dominant hand. Yarn over and pull through that loop to create a slip knot for that magic ring. I will now create 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Make sure your non-dominant hand has the loose tail and the magic ring, and insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull it through the ring, yarn over, pull it through the 2 loops on your hook, and that creates your first single crochet of the round. I like to place my stitch marker at the beginning of each round, so that's what I am doing here, placing it under those 2 loops that create the V, and we will continue making 5 more single crochets. Insert into the magic ring along with your loose tail, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops. That is your second single crochet. Continue doing this 4 more times. Now let's pull the loose tail. Hold your stitches with your dominant hand and the loose tail with your non-dominant hand and pull it tightly so the magic ring closes. Now we will be doing 6 increases. You'll start this by putting your hook into that first stitch under those V's, that first V. Yarn over and pull through that V stitch. Yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. This is a single crochet stitch. And we will be doing another single crochet stitch into the first stitch. That is what an increase is, by doing 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So continue this along until you reach the end of your round and have 12 stitches. Now for round 3, we're going to single crochet in the first stitch and follow it up with an increase in the second stitch. So here's my stitch marker for the first stitch, and then an increase here by doing 2 single crochets in the same stitch. By following this pattern along round 2, you will get to 18 stitches at the end of round 3, like so. I like to pull on the loose tail to tighten the magic ring at this point. And now for round 4, you will just single crochet into each stitch, making 18 single crochet stitches for round 4. As you create this pattern, it will like to turn inside out, so just make sure you turn it right side out like this as you're working. Now onto the color change for the stripe. You can do a regular crochet color change, but it will create this jagged look on the bee, which is fine. But I'm going to show you my favorite way to do a color change on a bee, and it starts by cutting off that working yarn tail and pulling that tail through. Here we are going to be creating an invisible fasten off. So you'll see this last stitch of your round. The stitch marker is on your first stitch, and then here is that second stitch of the round. We're going to insert the hook underneath that second stitch of the round from the wrong side to the right side, and pull the yarn tail through. And then we're going to look at the last stitch of the round and find that back loop. There are two loops, the front and the back. We want to focus on that back loop, again going from the wrong side of your piece to the right side out. I'm going to be inserting that hook into that back loop and then yarn over that and pull it through so the yarn tail is on the back side of the piece. This is creating a fake stitch and isn't creating such a significant drop off. It's just a more rounded end. I'm going to put the stitch marker into that fake stitch that was just made and count forward a few stitches. I think I did 4 stitches here. And we're going to add the new color for the stripe into that stitch, but only into the back loop. Grab that new color, yarn over, and pull it through that back loop. Yarn over again and pull it through the new loop you made. You have a slip knot here to secure it, and now we're going to single crochet into that same stitch, but there's that front loop. You're going to go through the front loop and that back loop, so you're creating a single crochet into that stitch, and this is your first stitch of that next round. I will now take that stitch marker and put it on the new beginning of my round. Because this is all the same amount of single crochets for each round, it really doesn't matter where you start and end, as long as there's 18 single crochets in each round. So I just finished round 5, and now we need to color change again by cutting that stripe color and creating that invisible fasten off again. So I pull through, and then I will find that second stitch, go underneath it, and pull that yarn through the second stitch into the back of the piece. Find that last stitch and go in that back loop only, pull that yarn tail through, and now we have a new fake stitch. And I'm going to put the stitch marker in the new fake stitch. I'm also tightening things here. By tightening that tail, you can kind of allow it to lay better. Here I'm tying a knot with 2 of the looser strands just to make it a little bit more secure. Feel free to do that whenever you think you need that security. I have a lot of different tails just hanging around, so I'm going to cut them off just so that I can have a cleaner look for this video and not get confused on what I'm working with. But this is where we're at so far. Let's go ahead and add the safety eyes before we add the new color change. Here's that first round, and then that second round, and the third round. I want to put this eye between the second and third round, and I like to do it a little bit higher than halfway. And then between about 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to put that other safety eye between rounds 2 and 3, make sure they're level, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the backings. Here he is so far. He's looking so cute, but the safety eye backs are super pointy and sometimes hit each other with how small this bee is, so this is where your lighter can come in handy. I like to very carefully light the back of the safety eye so it's melting a little bit, and then I push it down with the lighter so it makes it super flat and kind of shortens it. And so I'm going to do that over on this side as well, and you can just see it allows for a little bit more room so stuffing can go into the bee and they're not hitting each other. This also creates a super secure hold with the eyes, which is great. Now we can add the next stripe color, which is the same as the face color. I'm going to count ahead about 4 stitches and go through that back loop from the back of the piece, grab my new stripe color, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over again, pull it through. This creates that slip knot, and now single crochet into that same stitch to start our next round. We'll be moving the stitch marker to mark that new round. And now I'll just continue to create 18 single crochets for round 6. When you are done with round 6, you will be doing another color change. And if this method is a little too complicated for you, feel free to do whatever method you want, and you can just make it the bottom of the bee so not very many people will even see it or notice it. Otherwise, I just create an invisible fasten off and attach the new color a few stitches ahead through the back loop, and then single crochet that new color in. And again, I continue with 18 single crochets for this round. At the end of round 7, this will be your last color change to that lighter green color or whatever you have for that face color. Again, make an invisible fasten off, and then add your new color a few stitches ahead of that stitch marker, secure it in the back loop, and create a single crochet into that stitch. For round 8, we will do another 18 single crochet stitches. On round 9, our first stitch is going to be an invisible decrease. You do this by finding that front loop, inserting your hook in the front loop of the first stitch and the front loop of your second stitch. Yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over again and pull through the 2 last loops, and that will create a decrease and the first stitch of round 9. Next is a single crochet and another invisible decrease. Insert your hook in the front loop of the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through those first loops, yarn over, pull through the second loops, and just continue that pattern of single crochet and decrease until you hit the end of the round and have 12 stitches. Next, you want to start to stuff the bee with some fiber fill. You can do it to your preference, but I like to put a lot of stuffing in to have a firm bee. For round 10, we will be doing 6 decrease stitches. So put your hook through those front loops only in the first 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through those first loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops again. That's your first decrease. Do this 5 more times for this round. When you reach the end of round 10, feel free to stuff the bee with any more stuffing, and then you'll need to cut the working tail and fasten off by pulling it through. And you'll need your darning needle. Pull that through the darning needle and close the hole. I like to go through the back loops, and I kind of do a zigzag pattern of going down one back loop and then up the next back loop. And I do this for all 6 stitches. And at the end, I will pull the yarn tail very tightly to close that hole. Now I'll just be reshaping the bee along with weaving this yarn tail through the bee a couple times to make sure that yarn tail is very secure. And then I'll cut it off and tuck that end tail into the bee. And here I just wanted to reshape the back of it a little bit. And here he is so far. You can see that color change with the stripes is very seamless by using this method. Go ahead and put your bee to the side as we work on the clover wings. Grab your white yarn and let's start with a magic ring. Grab that loose tail with your pinky and ring finger and wrap it around your middle finger and index. Create an X underneath those fingers. Wrap it around so it's parallel on top and hold it tightly with the sides of your fingers. Use your hook and go under the right strand and pull over and twist that left strand. Hold that spot tight, yarn over and pull through that loop to create a slip knot. Next, we will keep this ring loose as we go to the next step of this round. We will be chaining 2, that is yarning over, pulling through a loop, and then doing it again so that you have 2 chains, yarn over, pull through, and then create a single crochet by going into the magic ring and creating a single crochet. From that, you have a space that is created from those chain 2 stitches. I'm going to put my stitch marker into that space and continue to repeat this pattern 3 more times. Chain 2 and single crochet. Again, I'm going to use a stitch marker here to help me find that chain 2 space. You can kind of see it there. This is going to create the leaves for our clover. That space is what we're going to use to build. So we need 4 of them total to create a 4-leaf clover. Continue working in this round 1 by chaining 6. This will create the stem of our 4-leaf clover. And we are going to skip the first chain and the second chain from that hook. 1, 2, and we will enter into that third chain and create a slip stitch where you yarn over, go through both of those loops, just 1 yarn over. And we're going to continue doing that down the next 3 chains, just yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. Insert into the chain, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, pull through that second loop. Our last step for this round is to slip stitch into the magic ring by inserting your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through the ring, and pull through that loop on your hook. And you are done with round 1. You'll just need to tighten that loose tail so that everything comes together. Now we will be taking off that first stitch marker and work in that chain 2 space from the first round. By starting off with a slip stitch, you insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through the stitch and pull through the loop on your hook. Now we will be doing chains 2, so yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and now a double crochet. To do a double crochet, you're going to yarn over your hook, insert into that chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through the chain 2 space, and you will have 3 loops on your crochet hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 of those loops, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops left on your hook, and you are left with 1 loop. That is a double crochet. You will follow it up with a slip stitch and then another double crochet, yarn over, insert into that chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through the chain 2 space, yarn over, you should have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 more loops. Chain 2, yarn over by pulling through, yarn over, pull through, and now a slip stitch, go into the stitch, yarn over and pull through the stitch and the loop on your hook. Let's do this one more time with the next chain 2 space. Insert your hook, slip stitch, and now chain 2, 1, 2, double crochet by yarning over, inserting it, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 of them, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Slip stitch, and then another double crochet, yarn over, insert into that stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through the 2 loops again. end with a chain 2 and a slip stitch, and I will go ahead and do the other 2 leaves off camera. Feel free to pause so that you can go ahead and finish them up, but this is what it will look like. When you're done with the 4 leaves, you're going to finish this round off by slip stitching into the magic ring. Just go into that center hole and slip stitch, and then we will fasten off by cutting that working tail and pulling it through. Make sure you leave enough string to sew it onto the bee. You can also pull that loose tail of the magic ring so that your 4-leaf clover is a little bit tighter. Here is my little bee, and now we are going to sew the 4-leaf clover onto the top of the bee. So make sure you know which part is the top part, and you're going to take whichever tail you want to use. It doesn't really matter, to sew it onto your bee. Grab your darning needle and put the yarn through the darning needle, and here is the top of my bee. So I'm going to go ahead and sew it on by just holding it in place where I like it and finding a few spots to secure it. I go into the bee of one of the stitches, and then I find a stitch underneath that clover to just connect it with and tighten it on, and I continue going like so. As I sew this clover wing onto the bee, I kind of focus on the center part of it so that the edges are a little bit more loose, kind of like wings. And then I put the leftover tail to the side of the bee. We're going to come back to that. But now I want to attach the keychain, and we're going to use the other loose tail with the darning needle. I'm going to insert my needle underneath the clover into that magic ring hole in the center and bring it up and put it through one of the keychain rings to attach it to the bee right in the center there. And then I just find another part of the wing to insert my needle into so that it's very close to that hole. Then I'll poke the needle through the side of the bee where the other yarn tail is for the clover, and I will tighten it by tying a knot with those 2 strands, which will allow the keychain to be very secure. Now you can cut off any excess of those strands and tuck them into your bee. And here he is, our cute Lucky Bee keychain, a perfect gift for anyone who needs a little bit of extra luck. And of course, you can change the colors to whatever you would like. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you next time.